And doctors say October is the best time to get your flu shot. A few weeks ago, we verified that's because the season typically starts to ramp up right about now. But then we were asked, does Florida's warmer weather mean that you're less likely to get the flu here? Josh Sidorowitz back to verify if our weather sets us apart when it comes to our flu risk.
Yeah, good question, right? Because we do usually associate the flu with the cold, and studies have shown that the virus does spread a whole lot better in colder, drier conditions, not the sticky humidity that we have here for most of the year. But let's verify this morning why doctors say that doesn't mean you're less susceptible here in Florida. For this, we are sourcing the CDC, several studies, including from the National Institutes of Health, and Dr. Nicole Iovine, who heads up the influenza response at University of Florida Health. First, let's look at some of the research studying the link between weather and influenza. The National Institutes of Health has found that warmer temps have been shown to essentially melt the virus's protective coat, making it harder to spread. But we're talking really warm temps. And then there are studies like this one, which have found humidity may help slow the spread of the flu virus.
We definitely have a subtropical climate here, so we're different from a lot of the rest of the nation. The interesting thing about flu, though, is that it doesn't seem to care.
Dr. Iovine says the flu's impact on us is likely less to do with the forecast changes and more to do with how our behavior changes, whether it gets too warm or too cold.
People are indoors more. And when people are indoors more, that creates the opportunity for transmission. Flu dynamics are extremely complex and incompletely understood, but we do have these hints.
So we can verify weather is a likely factor in how and when the flu spreads, but research suggests it's not the only one. And so being in Florida doesn't really mean you're any less susceptible. So sorry.
Okay.
There is that.
Karen's here to help us out. Here, unpack this a little bit when it comes to our weather. We are going to see a dip this weekend, too.
Yeah, well, when we look at the normal temperatures, so it coincides with when you might expect that flu season to peak. Our normal low temperature does dip into the low 50s, and that's relatively cool for us here in Florida. But here's the thing, guys. Our normal high temperatures never drop out of the 70s. So our normal high temperature is 71 degrees by January 15th. And therein lies the reason we get so many snowbirds that come in from the north, right? Because it is still relatively warm here, and where you might have a little bit more flu transmission up north, Josh, if you have those people coming down here, that might be a source of the transmission that we see here in Florida, despite our warmth and humidity.
Yeah, a lot of things play in here. So not just weather, other factors as well.
Right, and you just hit on one of the theories that's out there, because we really don't know for sure. But there's another one, we talked about this last hour. They've looked into whether the lack of sunlight or less sunlight this time of year means your body's producing less vitamin D. That can impact your immune system. There's a theory that birds migrating south,
not just the snowbirds, but real birds.
But actual birds could bring the virus. But to Dr. Ivine's point, I mean, there's stuff that we don't know about why and how and when the flu behaves the way it does, and that is why when you hear doctors talking about flu season, it's in very general terms. Typically, when the season starts, typically when it peaks, we need to try to forecast it a little bit better, like we can the weather, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet.